Welcome, y'all, back to the most underrated podcast. It's your boy, your mans, your brother from another, Young Mar, aka Mars Blaine. I'm in the building, y'all. Y'all already know what it is. Live and direct from Newark, Jersey. Shout out to the west side, to the south side. North side, if you hear me. Shout out to the Central too if they over there listening. Shout out to everybody who tuned into the podcast. I really appreciate it. I was destined on a goal to not stop. Cause like I said in previous, way back in the first episode of the podcast, you know what I mean? I started doing this way back on YouTube. It was just a little baby. I used to do podcasts and never caught on, so I just stopped. I was like, you know what, let me stop because it ain't gonna get me nowhere. And it's funny now, everybody do podcasts, but that's what happens. You know what I mean? In life, you learn from your mistakes. And it's funny because that's what this whole last few episodes been about, the reflection. And this episode is part 3, reflection part 3. Death equals Proverbs chapter 18 verses 17 to 25. And the reason why I did 17 to 25 is because there was some gems dropped in that particular article of the Bible, and I'm gonna get into them in a minute. But you know what I mean, the reason why I started the whole reflection episode is because we're in a time now in America, in the world, in our society, in our communities, especially in the black community. And I say that the black community because, you know what I mean, we starting to really get, as they say, we're in the transitioning period in our community, where we are separated to so much of a degree that we're starting to forget our roots. History will tell you, like I'm sure a lot of you have been told in your lifetime by an elder, or whether it's a teacher, family member, or whoever. I was lucky to be surrounded by a lot of great people in my life. Rest in peace to my father. Father's Day just passed this past Sunday. This is my second official, because my daughter was born the month before Father's Day, so this is my second one, even though she only a year old. So you know what I'm saying, I'm on happy Father's Day to all the fathers. Keep doing your thing, be an important role that we play in our children's lives. My mother and father were both disciplinaries, so I can't say my father was one stronger than the other, because my mother would beat you the same way. But the reason why I bring that up is because I feel like we're in a time where we are forgetting history. And I had a teacher, I was probably in like third grade, because my teacher third grade, Miss Davis, was my brother's, one of his best friend's older sister. So our families were always close. They lived right around the corner from us. So I had to take them L's. I couldn't get in trouble in school because she'd come right around the corner and holler at me. Couldn't forget homework because the same difference. So when I was young, my grandmother was very sick, so I didn't have the opportunity to have a grandmother figure at a young age, because my grandmother was very sick. That was my mother's mother. My father's mother died way before I was even thought of, when he was little. So my grandmother figures were more like older aunts, and my best friends, their grandmothers embraced me as their grandchild. So that was my elder statesman. My grandfathers were both advocates in my life. Sorry about that. Advocates in my life. They definitely played a major role. My father's father, Thurman, he was a funny dude, always cracked jokes. He was always live with it, you know what I mean? Like, he let you know, I'm with it. Old as he was with it. He died 3 years before my father did. So, the older tree branches in my family were taken down when I was young. but my older aunts and uncles stepped up to the plate, and I had outside family that you would call family. You know what I'm saying? And I bring that up, like I said, I bring those up to relevance because, like I always do, I always stay away from the main point to bring it back to the main point. But repeating the history, learning history is a very important lesson in life. And I say this because Miss Davis would always tell me, you got to know where you came from to know where you're going. And a lot of people say, oh, well, everybody say that, but profoundly, I was in third grade, so me thinking, like, you 8 or 9 years old, you're like, bro, I don't care about history. Like, I don't need to know all this stuff. It's not gonna help me. What's learning about World War I and II gonna do for me? What learning about slavery really gonna do for me? I was 8. You know what I'm saying? I was into basketball, football. I wanted to be a doctor. Oddly enough, I wasn't really a history buff yet. And then one day I just started asking my father all these questions, like, why did man land on the moon, and why were we slaves, and why is the sky blue, and things like this. And my father was like, yo, as much as you read into books about stats with basketball, football, and baseball, you need to do that about life in general. History, learn your history, learn science, like pay attention and stop playing around thinking this is a game. Education is something that a lot of people fought for you to have. So understand that that book you got is there for a reason. Read that book, understand that book, go to the library, get more books and read. Stop just asking me questions, because I can only give you a limited amount, because I only have the knowledge that I was brought up with. You know what I mean? I want you to have the knowledge that is open to you. Go find the knowledge, seek it. And him saying that, because my father was my idol, so him saying that sparked a light in me, because no matter how many times my mother would tell me, hey, you need to get good grades and do this, do that. Like, yeah, my mother went to school, so she went to college and everything. I admire her for being a strong black woman, but my father, it was something about him. Like, everybody respected him in the streets, and he wasn't a drug dealer, so I didn't understand it. And I was like, yo, man, why is, like, come on, brother, like, let me know the secret. How you so cool? How everybody like you? Why nobody don't ever got beef with you? So when he said things, I took him in a different light. That's why I bring up fathers being important roles in their kid's life, because you never know your impact on your child until you are not there. And if they grow up with the wrong influence, a stepfather who may not have had the right upbringing might be a bad influence on your child, whether it's abusive mentally, emotionally, or physically. So if you're a father, take care of your kids. Ladies, if that man wants to take care of his kid, let him take care of his kid. If he don't want to be with you, that's on you. Now, if you want to sit here and play barter and trade with your vagina and try to trade time with your kids so that he can still come around and be around you, that's on you. But understand that man is needed in your child's life, just like you are needed in your child's life. It's a balance that's needed. And we move forward back to the history lesson. Now, you read all throughout history about different political figures and things of that nature. Trump, I know everybody's tired of hearing about Trump, but you have to listen closely to what he says and the things that he believes in, because the things that he believes in and the things that he puts out into the world are very, very detrimental, not only to the world's view of America, but the inner workings of America as well. You have young men growing up thinking they're entitled to something because of the image that is already given to them by their parents, and now it's advocated by the leader of your country. When you idolize something toxic, you just create more toxicity. Right or wrong. Now, the reason why I bring up Trump, here we go again today with this, it's because every day he's doing something. I mean, he went to go see Kim, what is it, Kim Jong? I hate saying his name because it's the leader of North Korea. And he was very gassed up. Like, hey, yeah, I got that done. I got him to denuclearize himself. Like, they acting like, they praising Trump like Trump made him do something that he didn't want to do. Just because I say I'll do it doesn't mean that I'm actually going to do it until I actually show you that I am going to demilitarize myself to a degree to not make me a threat to you. It doesn't mean anything until you see the cases closed up, the shop closed, and the gate down, as they used to say. So just because he went over there and talked to him, and everybody, oh well, Obama couldn't do it, and Obama didn't want to listen to Dennis Rodman. Like, first of all, Kim Jong-un don't even like black people, more than likely. Like most people from the Asian, as you say, Asian continent. It's not really a continent, country. I'm gonna say Asia is a continent, but the countries in Asia, most of them don't like black people. Let's just be honest. Whether you're Chinese or Korean or Vietnamese, you have a hatred towards black people for whatever reason. So if you really thought that Barack Obama was gonna sit down with that man and have a conversation, that's out. Wasn't gonna happen. If you could remember when Kim Jong's father was in office, he never wanted to meet with the Bushes or Clinton. So, he found a Silas, not Silas, but he found something that bonded him with Trump to be like, hey, I like this guy, so I'll sit down and talk to him just to hear him out. Now, Trump did what in that conversation? Hey, I'll pull out of South Korea. I'm not going to help the South Koreans. That's not our problem no more. Y'all handle them. Y'all do what y'all got to do. For all we know, that's what could have been said. We don't know what was said in that. But yet still, we're going to give him all this praise. Now, if you remember back in the First World War, what was going on? There was a lot going on in the First World War. World War I had nothing to do with America at first. You know what I'm saying? We got involved as usual because we wanted to be nosy. We jump in, we try to save everybody, and now we become a part of it. So, when major powers go at it, the first thing you're going to see is somebody taking the blame and somebody not taking the blame. Now, if you remember how World War I started, it was all about nationalism and imperialism, and the countries that were on one side of the fence felt as though everybody should mind their business and let them do what they do best and keep it moving. And other people felt like it's not fair that you're doing this and we have to step in. Now, with that being said, you got to understand, if you don't have somebody in there telling people, hey, this ain't the right thing to do, let's talk about this and maybe we could get some change. What you have is a lot of people saying, well, he's trying to do the right thing for the future or to protect a certain way of life that we have. Which, if you look around, Trump is not saving anything. Like I said, Trump is not looking at the way of life that people in America live every day. In major cities, you got homeless people. In rural cities, they don't have as many jobs for farming, and the land ownership is in a different climate than it was before. And when I say than it was before, we no longer use agriculture like we should. We are transitioning ourselves away from what should be having, as they say, illegal immigrants here. Those illegal immigrants, most of them come and get jobs where they work in the farmland, and they help cultivate the land, and they help out doing things that give us a normal sense of life. Most of these illegal immigrants are not doing the things that are causing terror. You know what I mean? We have all different scales of that all across the land. You had a gang problem for a long period of time, where it just seemed like gangs were involved in drugs and everything, even though it was facilitated by the government in whatever shape, way, or form it was, through drugs or the war on gangs or the war on drugs, however you want to put it. And Trump has never been a part of the working class society, so therefore he doesn't know what working class people need and what poverty is. He's the I guess you could say he's anti-normal. Because in the normal world, people come from working class environments for the most part. We understand what it's like to see your parents get up and go to work and come home and be a part of the community in the sense of, hey, we go watch the kids play basketball or football games and baseball games, and we help out our neighbors and things like that. He comes from a culture of, hey, let's go buy Ferraris and race across the highway or whatever the case may be in a little private island. And that's not a bad thing. Some people, they're accustomed to that life and they understand that that's the life they're accustomed to and they don't need to adjust. Other people, when you're a politician, I feel like you should know what normal people go through on a daily basis. I don't care if you're Democrat or Republican or whatever, as long as your views and morals are somewhat within line of something that a majority of the people can say, hey, I'll vote for you because you believe in, hard work, and you're going to help us reinvent ourselves and reprogram ourselves to a degree, but also not take out the normalcy of our lives. But back to the real talk, because I don't want to get all political. Reflection, history, knowing where you're going because you know where you came from. And Proverbs chapter 18 verses 18 to 24 give you that conscience to understand. In verse 19 of Proverbs chapter 18, a brother offended is harder to be won than a strong city, and their contents are like the bars of a castle. So when you hear that, you would think, let's not offend our brothers. You know what I mean? Let's not offend our brothers and sisters. Let's try to help them out. Let's try to make it a way that if we're all strong and united, we can never be against each other. But if we're not strong and united, whatever is strong and united will be used against us. Because understand, the people, we are a whole. We are a movement together. If we all move together, we all kind of share certain morals and similarities, we can make the world a better place. Is what everybody wants to happen. And I know it's a far-fetched idea, but you got to understand it's deeper than that. And a lot of things that I think that we are missing in this society is just common sense. With Trump being the president, common sense is lacking, because in the culture that we grow up in now, or the kids growing up in now, the culture that they have, they go off of what they call clout chasing and trolling, and Trump is the embodiment of all that. And that's why some kids look up to him and say, well, he's different, and people hate him because he's different. They're not giving him a chance. And it's like, you give somebody a chance when they are doing the right things and helping you and helping others come together, especially if that's their job. If you represent the whole and not just part, you have to understand that I'm representing the whole brand that I have. That's like saying the president of Nike, he doesn't go out and say, oh, I hate black people and I don't want black athletes wearing my apparel. That your whole brand is, for the most part, ran by one of the greatest athletes of all time, LeBron James. So if you say something like that, you're automatically going to lose a guy like him from the rip. So if you're the president of the United States, you got to understand, when you're working, the certain people got you in the office, and you could say, oh, and a lot of people say, oh, well, he's the president, he doesn't really affect you primarily one-on-one. You're right, most of the time he doesn't. But in cases where you got kids being taken away from their parents, locked in cages, and then his excuse is, oh well, this has been enacted since 96, 97. Yeah, it has been, but it hasn't been used ever to the degree that you have used it to in the last month. You have kids being separated from their parents, and your excuse is, well, they shouldn't be here anyway. If everybody used that logic, America wouldn't be where it is today. Because, for instance, when they came to Jamesburg in Virginia, or Jamestown in Virginia, I should say, sorry, Jamestown in Virginia, the Native Americans should have said, you are illegal immigrants, you shouldn't be here. And that would have ended that. Or when they landed on Plymouth Rock, and the Native Americans should have said, hey, you know what? This is our land. We don't want to share with you. You got to go. There would be no America in the forefront as it is today. When the Italians, the Jews, let me put that right, the German Jews, because Jewish, it's different types of Jews, and that's a deeper story to get into, but I ain't gonna get into that now. But when the Jewish people from Germany came, it was okay. When the Italians came, it was okay. When the Irish came the second time around, not the first time, the second time around during the potato famine, it was okay. But everybody who's considered an enemy always seems to have different morals than those three kinds of people. You had the Asian community, whether you're Japanese, Vietnamese, you weren't allowed to come here, or they didn't want you here, especially during times of war. You were not allowed to be a refugee, or you were put into a camp. Black people, we were allowed to be here only as help, not to ever be considered human. And it's still that way to this day to a degree. I don't care if Obama got in office or not. You don't see it for the generality. Like, think about it like this with the whole Obama thing, because a lot of people argue this, that America's changed because Obama was let into office. What you have to understand is the hope that Obama inspired will all be thrown away by the actions of Trump and his administration, because the way they speak and the way they act on their speech impedes and trumps, literally, no pun intended, everything that the Obama administration was trying to do. Granted, Obama and them did do a lot of wrong things. You know what I mean? They did allow bombing on countries with the kids and kids getting killed in the bombings. We all understand and acknowledge that, us who know. Nobody's giving him credit for that. But what he didn't do was, he didn't embarrass the whole country on a global scale. People respected him for what he did. Other countries respected, like, hey, you had to do what you had to do. We understand casualties in war. The war on immigration would make no sense, because most of the people that you're trying to get rid of ain't doing nothing. That's like saying the war on white terrorism. You can't put all the white people in jail because all the white people are not shooting up schools. All the white kids are not out here trying to beat black people and Mexican people and Jewish people up. It's degrees to this. There's degrees to this. You gotta understand there's degrees to this, and it's mastered to make us seem like, okay, you had Obama, now this is what real life is like. Racism has always been there. I just feel like now, just like how the Russians took over Facebook and was trying to get all this propaganda started so that Trump could be president, I feel like that's what somebody's doing with racism. Like, right now, it's always been there. We know it was there. Everybody black knew, like, okay, racism exists. I don't care who doesn't know. We know. We don't care who don't know. We don't care who won't acknowledge it. We don't care about those people either, because at the end of the day, we know what goes on. And now it's just like every other day, it's just stirring the pot. And after a while, you gotta look at it like, hey, if you don't like me, that's fine. Don't be bothered with me. I won't be bothered with you. But what you can't do is say that I'm not allowed to be here because you own this land, and you probably don't own the land or the home that you stay in. The bank does, more than likely, or your parents, but it's not yours until they die or you pay off that loan. And I say that because all these entitled youth in America, white kids that embrace hip hop culture, but feel as though I can embrace your culture and not respect you at the same time, doesn't make sense. Because you can't say you love my culture but you don't love me, because you're acting, when you're in my culture and you're embracing it, you're acting as one of us. Which means if you're going to be a visitor, you got to understand that you are a visitor, and once you step out of those visitor parameters, you are allowed to be checked in a totally different manner. And I swing that off because we go back to Proverbs. Death and life are in the power of the tongue, and they that love it shall eat the fruit thereof. Proverbs chapter 18 verse 21. The power of the tongue. I remember being in high school and I had good grades. I was pretty good student, above a 3.0 for my overall GPA, even though a lot of people felt I shouldn't have it because I used to, fall asleep in class and stuff like that. I was bored. School was boring for me because I like to learn on my own. Like, give me a book, let me read. Only thing I probably could learn on my own was math, which is understandable because certain stuff you need to be shown before you can do it, especially if it's outside of money. Now, in high school, I'm learning as I go, I had a few teachers that were decent, cool, whatever. I got a job, it's junior year, going into my senior year, just so I could have some bread on my own. I didn't have to ask my parents for stuff. So I thought I was a man. I used to always, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that. I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that. Because I was achieving things that I said I would do. I said I would get a job, I got a job. I said I would maintain my grades were pretty good. So everything that I felt that I was saying, I was achieving. I said I'm going to go to college, I'm going to get into college. And that's where I was headed on that trajectory. Remind you the negative influences that were around me. I'm from the hood. It's gangs. My boys is in gangs. A lot of people I played ball with was in gangs. I wasn't the greatest athlete. I wasn't wasn't all American and nothing like that. Just like playing ball in the hood. That's what you do. But I used to always think like, dang, how am I achieving some of these things so easily? Because in my mind, I was training myself. The words that I spoke, my subconscious was training itself to build that confidence to get things done. My goals were easily obtainable because I trained myself subconsciously to always say I can do this because it got done. I didn't have to second guess myself. Once again, the negative influence though. I'm in the hood. Everybody smoke weed, black and mouths, cigarettes, niggas drink. People drink, underage drinking, just like in the white neighborhoods, suburbs, whatever you want to call it. And I grew up with a diverse amount of friends, I had friends that lived in the hood, I had friends that lived in the burbs. We would trade off and go to different neighborhoods, and it was all fun. But when the negativity started happening, we 14 and 15, starting to get a little loose. My parents like, all right, you could go out and do stuff now, go out and have fun. But around this time in my city, a lot of kids was getting shot my age, 16, 15, getting shot, getting killed. And with that going on, I started to get paranoid because I'm in a situation where I'm like, hey, I'm doing good, but it's people that's doing good like me getting killed every day. It's people that's not involved in things, their friends or their family is involved in things, and they're catching the consequences. Now your subconscious starts to creep to the negative side because now you're in a situation where the paranoia has created negativity in a once positive environment. I'm 16 and one of my friends get killed. I played ball with this dude. Me and him were very close. We were cool. And it's like, all I could think about was the last time I had a conversation with him. And him never being a negative person. Like, always being like, yo, get over it. We'll move on. It's all good. It ain't that deep. Never letting things get to him. So him dying affects me in a way that I have to step back now and take a look at life and say, hey, everything ain't easily obtainable, because this thing called life is not promised. If it could take somebody who's so positive away that fast, what makes me different? This is the power of the tongue now, because I'm speaking these things into existence now, the negativities. I'm questioning God, and not just God, but also I'm questioning life itself as to why would you take such a good person and spare other people who are not so good. So now I'm creating a negative thought, and I'm speaking negativity into the world, not wishing death on other people, but I'm asking, why is it not this person? Why is it not that person? And this is what you did in the hood. And then a lot of times, anytime somebody died, I don't care where you were, you kind of felt like, whether it was cancer, whether it was, car accidents, or somebody, stabbed them, or, they motorcycle accident, all the kind of things that you could die from. People ask this all the time. And in this society, I bring that to this point because the young kid that was a rapper was Triple X Testacion. He was killed this week. We don't know whether this was a robbery or not. Details haven't been fully clear, but he's shot and he's killed. People go online, oh, he was an abuser, he was this, he was that, he got his just due. Now, everybody from the hood knows that's how people talk. That's how we talk in the hood. You heard that before. You heard, people say, somebody, a well-known, street player or somebody who was in the streets get killed. People be like, what would you expect to happen? You out here, you play the game, that's what it is. People die every day, B. You had cats out here say that. And everybody be like, oh, that's true, keep it moving. But that's not. When that happens, that's understandable for a sense of, hey, you in the streets, you know the rules. When somebody who wasn't in the streets get killed, the question always becomes, well, all these people out here in these streets and nothing happens to them, but something happens to this kid. That's messed up. And it was said, and it wasn't a disrespectful thing in a sense, but it's disrespectful when you aim it at people. Like, yes, like during this week, you've seen people saying rest in peace to him, to this young kid, and you have the other negative people who are saying, well, he deserved it because he abused women and he beat up he was a homophobic person, he beat up a gay dude when he was in jail. Rightfully so. He was a tortured kid. He went through a lot in his life. We don't know what he could have been in his transition. Like all people in life, music or non-music, they have things happen to them in their life where they take time to get over it, or take time to evolve. Everybody has an evolution, even though as a young black man, because he was only 20 years old, he was 17 when he got locked up, and he did this. He glorified himself for beating up his gay inmate, and him hitting females on camera and beating up his baby mother, or whatever the case may be. Those were things that he had seen in his past, and he repeated them, whether it was initiated by his depression, his anger towards himself, or the people that he grew up with, or the people that were in his life for a long period of time who treated him that way. He started to evolve towards this time now he's evolving into a thought. He's having a conversation with other grown men who have been in his situation and have progressed themselves to not do things like that. Like, if you remember when Joe Buttons was accused of beating up his girlfriend at the time, I don't know her name, I don't know if it was Tahira or not, but you had a lot of guys coming at Joe Buttons like, hey bruh, you ain't like that, I should put my hands on you. Joe Buttons didn't die, but if he had, a lot of people probably would have had the same sentiments about him. Just like when Chris Brown and Rihanna, a lot of people defended Chris Brown and a lot of people didn't. A lot of people to this day still don't like Chris Brown because of the whole Rihanna situation. But he has evolved. He has a daughter of his own. Joe Budden has 2 kids. He has a son and he has another son just recently. They have evolved. They were in abusive relationships. They were abused when they were younger. They evolved though. Chris Brown's 28, 29. Me and him around the same age, so he's like 28, 29 now. Joe Budden's is probably like what, 30 something, late 30s, early 40s. But they evolved from their younger selves, and this is the one. This is so powerful what I'm about to say, and I don't care if people don't think it's powerful. It's powerful in a sense like this. Let me tell you something, because D.L. Hughley, I think it was D.L. Hughley that said this. It might not have been. I seen it on Instagram. He probably just reposted it or repeated it. But the thing about being a black man in America, you go through a lot of shit growing up. If you can't be emotional, you got to be a grown man at 14, 15 years old, and you have to take responsibility for things that you have not even supposed to have experience in. Understand that. You see how deep that is? You have to be a total grown man at 14 and 15 years old. You're responsible for your actions. So when you're 20, 21, you're supposed to be a seasoned grown man. So that young man that died at 20, he didn't get to his evolve stage. It's like Pokemon, you know what I'm saying? Pokemon used to have to evolve. Your Pokemon evolved. That was a lesson in life too as well. We all evolve at different stages and at different times. Pikachu was one of the most powerful Pokemon. He never wanted to evolve into what was it, Raichu, I think it was. He never wanted to evolve because he was so powerful in his state that he was in. He didn't need to evolve. But he evolved in another way. He evolved mentally and emotionally, not physically. And that's what a lot of people don't understand about being a black man in America. You can evolve physically because you could be 14 or 15, you might be 6'8", 6'9", and you a little cocky. People fear you. But mentally and emotionally, you're still 14 or 15. You might look 22, 23, but you're 14 years old, you're 15 years old, 16 years old. You're not a grown man. You answer to somebody. Now, saying that to say this. As a young black man in America, and the culture that we grew up in, a lot of us seen people get abused, been a part of being abused. We are not allowed to show emotions, meaning we're not allowed to be emotional. We are taught to be homophobic to a degree by other grown men who are supposedly involved because of their age, but I don't believe age has anything to do with evolving, because you can be wise and not be a grown man. But as a grown black man, you have to understand too, though, the world evolves around you as well. You have to accept that there are going to be gay black men and gay black women. You have to accept that some women are scorned for life, and there are going to be, especially if there are some black women who have been scorned for life by the men in their life or people around them, so they're going to have a negative attitude towards you because you may resemble or show traits of the people that have betrayed them in the past. And it's a lot for us. I know it's a lot for us to carry, you know what I mean? That's a lot. But what we can't do is turn around and project that energy out to the world. We can't allow the world to know that, oh, I'm homophobic because I think it's wrong, this, that, and the third. And I can't show that I'm, anti-black woman because they're scorned and they don't know how to handle somebody being real with them about life. But in the same token, understand that the black woman is trying to help you heal. Some of them are here to heal you. They're not all there to kill you. I know Dominican girls that swear up and down they blacker than a black girl that's pure African. I know girls that's Brazilian and Puerto Rican and Jamaican, and they tell you I'm black. I know Haitian girls say I'm black. I'm black. I'm Haitian, but I'm black. I'm Dominican, but I'm black. I'm Puerto Rican, but I'm black. I just speak Spanish. And you be like, yo, that's crazy. I ain't know y'all was repping like that. And you have black dudes, they find a few of them, I'm black, but I'm not I'm not black, I'm American black. And it's like, what's American black, bro? You know what I mean? You African American, Jamaican American, what? They lost in their identity because what they see is the opportunity to move out of the negative stereotype that's been placed upon us. Because in the time when we had our chance to be grown men and be accountable for ourselves and make our own image, we didn't do that, and we degraded our women. And when we degraded our women, we were scorned to the fifth degree, whereas everybody else who did it was relieved of their duties, or let me say duties, relieved of their responsibility. Like, hey, it's okay that the white man abused your woman for thousands of years. You're not supposed to do it. You know what I'm saying? It's okay that we took you out the home so that your women can struggle. And now all that created a tension that's broken us up to the worst degree. Because on the level of where you see a black man and a black woman together, people like, that's what's up, do y'all thing. And then you have those negative detractors who jump in and say, oh, that ain't nothing special, it is what it is. Everybody do that, not knowing the consequences of their words, because they don't know the history of where they came from. They don't know the history of the interaction between black men and black women, and the attempt to destroy that ideology of black love. And I take it back to a Jay-Z line I heard a long time ago, and it's too much black, too much love equals forever. That's one of the dopest things I ever heard. Poetically, it's dope because it's like he's not saying it's black love over everything, but he's just saying all that love and all that culture within the black community equals us having a lasting image and a lasting spin on life that can last forever, that can be passed down from generation to generation. It's deeper than rap. That's what I always say. It's deeper than rap. And I feel like this generation is really lucky because they're in a space where you can be emotional and be so open, and some people won't judge you, and the people that do judge you, they are criticized in a way that they start to understand where they went wrong. Whereas before, if you were an emotional man, especially emotional black man, they tore into your ass for that. So with certain parts of this generation I respect and I love, and I'm like, dang, I wish we had that when we were younger, because maybe we would be different. But we kind of tuned it going into this generation, letting that social media opening that door for that. Social media has become one of the best and worst things to ever happen. It allowed communication, it allowed cultures to become connected more, but it also showed us those ugly colors. And you need to see the ugly colors once in a while. You need to see the ugly colors, because when this kid's body is stiff and a breath is not in him, and they got him all on social media, it's disgusting. Yes, because when you go up in the hood and you see somebody get killed, that's the last thing you want to see is somebody you know posted up somewhere online, a picture of them, and that's your peoples, that's your boy, your homie, your cousin, your brother, whatever you want to call it. You're disgusted, because you're like, what? Why would somebody do something like that? But in this time, people just want to be famous. People just want to be the first to say, I seen it or I did it. And it's sad, because with that you lose the genuine love and respect for humankind. This young man is dead. Let's not post his picture everywhere. Let's call an ambulance to try to help him. It's only one person in the video you see trying to do that. One person out of like 10, 15 people that was around at the time. Then y'all barely can describe the car that ran up on him, or whatever the case may be. And then online in the comments, oh, that should have been Tekashi 6ix9ine, and that nigga Tekashi 6ix9ine deserved to die too. Well, if that's how you feel, Understandable. You verbalize that, but understand the power of the tongue going back to the power of the tongue is you speaking this negativity into the world about somebody else. I understand that when you put out that negativity, it's repercussions for that negativity. Last week I said on the podcast that Tekashi 6ix9ine would eventually, all this trolling and all this stuff, clout chasing, whatever y'all want to call it, all the shit talking that he do would eventually catch up to him. Because what? If you have the right to say whatever you want to say, but you can't control people's reactions. And that's what a lot of people didn't understand when I was saying about that. The kid Triple X Testosterone probably didn't get killed because of something he said on social media. He might have got killed for some random ass reason. Like somebody probably just saw him like, oh, that nigga shining, he got bread on him, I'm gonna get him. We don't know. But it goes back to the power of the tongue. He talked about death a lot. That kid talked about death a lot because he was in a bad space. And he was in a mentally bad space. You know what I mean? He was going through depression. He was getting over stuff that happened to him when he was a kid. And he also was going to a place where he was mending those fences and healing those wounds that he had to try to probably become a better person. And he got taken out because he spoke so much about death that, hey, if this is what you really want, you want a tragic death, you want to die, hey, universe, God, it's gonna give it to you. And it might not be you, it might not be somebody most of the time it's somebody close to you, or it's you. It's never like, oh yeah, death is death and this is that, I don't give a fuck, niggas die every day, be all that, you talk all that hot shit, and then your best friend get killed, your dog dies, your little cousin get killed, somebody in your family die of cancer, and you distraught because you're like, wait, why is all this happening to me at this time? You gotta remember what you spoke into existence. Like 6ix9ine spoke all this, come holla at me, da 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 da, and as soon as that kid is pronounced dead, he hops online instantly, because you know why? He starts to understand, like, hey, this is real life. And that's what these kids in this society in this time of day have to understand. This is real life. Whatever you're going through, talk to somebody about it. That's what social media should be for. It should be a place where we all come together and we can heal each other and make the world a better place. We shouldn't be on there talking crazy to somebody you don't even know, because you never know what somebody else might see, or somebody might see you and do something to you because of what you said to somebody else, or because the way you carry yourself on social media, they gonna think you really like that. It's just like when we were young, older heads used to always tell us, especially my older brother, my oldest brother used to tell me, hopping off the porch, you better be about that life. You talking all wreck on the porch, you better be able to hop off that porch and talk that same wreck when you out here in these streets. And that's to say, if I'm going to talk on Instagram and talk about smacking the shit out you when I see you, I need to be prepared to smack the shit out of you, just in case you are like that and you want to smack the shit out of me for my response to you. And it's never about disrespecting what somebody can and cannot say. You are allowed to say whatever you want as a human being. That's your right. But understand that you have to understand that the reaction is allowed as well. Somebody's allowed to react whatever way they want. You on Instagram and you don't like somebody's opinion, that's their opinion. You can state your opinion. Never let it get to the point where y'all disrespecting each other and it's, oh, when I see you, I hope you have that same energy. Because when that person sees you, they might not have that same energy, but the person that's with you or that's with them has that energy, and they like, you know what, that motherfucker was talking to you, bro, and I don't appreciate how they was talking to you and disrespecting you. I'ma handle it. Your friend handles that for you. They kill that person or they injure that person really badly. The cops coming to you and they gonna talk to you. Now you in jail and you probably gonna snitch because you ain't like that. So your man's in jail. Now both of y'all in jail because you argued over something that was said, somebody's opinion, or you want to be a tough guy because you just want to be tough. I'm all here for social media if you want to state your opinions and we can have constructive criticism without disrespecting somebody. But you also got to understand that when you put out this negative energy, that's what you're gonna get. But yeah, sometimes I just feel like it's so much less. How can you say it? Because I get so frustrated when I get into the thought about it. It's not that I'm not trying to complete my thought. It's just you get so frustrated when you go on social media, and it's like this could be such a beautiful place to be in social media and be, you know, that every good comes to bad naturally with everything. You know what I mean? You could be a vegan, it's gonna equal better health, but you ain't gonna get to eat. You know, you can't eat meat no more. But that's a part of life. Excuse me. I had to let that sneeze out. But you know what I mean? It's just crazy that you go on social media to explore culture and understand the world as a whole and reach people, and then you get this other part of it where people don't get that. It's a lot of negativity on the social media thing. We be chilling, we could talk, crack jokes about whatever. Everybody knows how that go. You sit there and you have your friend, you know. Just like social media is like an expanded version of being around your friends, but these are people that you don't know, and some of these people have a vicious intent. Like when you're around your friends, everybody cracking jokes, snapping, hiking, joking, whatever you want to call it. It's okay. Like, hey, you know, oh, you ugly, Frank. Yeah, look at Frank, ugly ass. Da, da, da. It's jokes, and you know it's from a sincere place. These are like your brothers and sisters. Sometimes some people get offended, they walk away. Other people, they know that nobody ain't trying to hurt them. But in social media life, people don't know each other. So if you disrespect somebody, you don't know what it's going to take to push them over that line. And the reason a lot of this things are out of whack is because social media is taken so seriously. Like I remember when Facebook used to just be for just communicating with people, and it was quiet on the set. Like MySpace was where all the ratchet stuff went on and all the wildness went on, and all hey, I'm trying to hook up with you stuff went on. And Facebook was like the establishment. Like you go into Facebook, it's like going into school, and you're here to promote yourself as a good person, and your family's on here, and everybody just talking about whatever. And those were two different mediums, you know, two different social medias. MySpace was for all the ratchet fun stuff, and Facebook was for the serious family stuff. And then slowly but surely MySpace died out, and Facebook became the place for that. And then you get Twitter. And Twitter was like being out in the streets. Like you say something on Twitter was like, I'm gonna pull up on you where you at. Now I mean, Facebook was getting to that point at one point in time, but it was still like, it's Facebook, you know. I still got my auntie and my grandma on here. I can't be wilding on you like that. But Twitter was like the wild, wild west. You say it, I hope you back it up when I see you. Like Twitter beefs really became out in the street beefs, and that's when you seen the social media changing. Like MySpace had some moments where it was beef, like, oh yeah, whatever, man. I mean, I posted a meme about you and you corny and all this other stuff. I put a song on my page to exploit the fact that I don't like you, but that was it most of the time. You know what I mean, nobody really ever got into fights and stuff. Facebook, it kind of here and there, you know, you see them fights, them comments, and you read the 400 comments because you want to know why the beef, why they wilding on Facebook. But Twitter was like, nah, I don't got enough characters to express myself, so when I see you in the streets, just know what's on, and I'm gonna pull up on you, and I'm gonna make sure you see me when I see you. Twitter was wild. Twitter was wild for a minute. Twitter was reckless. Twitter was the streets in the internet generational terminology. Like Twitter was considered the streets. Like Twitter was that place your mother be like, don't go there by yourself. Make sure your cousins go with you, because you know how them cats is over there. And then Twitter was live for a long time. You know, you get Twitter was live. It's still kind of live now, I guess. I mean, I'm not really into Twitter like I used to be. I was a Twitter head for like 2-3 years strong, and just going hard and and somebody say something, and it's and I had my Twitter beats back in the day where it was a couple cats, so I told, you know what I mean, me and my boys would be together. I see it, yo, that's that from Twitter. He was talking mad crazy, son. Yo, I really feel like smacking him, like, let's get it popping with this or whatever. It was a time and a place. That was Twitter, was that time and place for that, and that's where you seen the change coming. Once Twitter started to die down a little bit, and everybody got Instagram. And the videos, you could post videos on Instagram and you could post videos on Twitter. It started to evolve into a real dangerous thing now, because now it's like, hey, now when I pull up on you, not only am I gonna have video that I beat your ass, I'm gonna have a meme of me beating your ass, and I get to talk shit on Twitter and have pictures on Instagram with a caption that explains why I beat your ass with a cool ass catchphrase. And Snapchat is not really, Snapchat is just, Snapchat is like the suburbs, you know what I mean? Take pictures. Snapchat is like a vacation. You go in there, take pictures, and you beefing on Snapchat, you doing too much. You got a whole 15 stories about somebody you don't like. That's too much for me. That's Snapchat, you do your own thing. But Instagram, Twitter is where the internet beef got to another level. Like, that's when you knew it was real. Like, oh yeah, boy, they talking to you heavy on Twitter, boy. That boy talking reckless to you on Twitter, bro. I saw that, and you started to look at cats like, bro, you from the streets and you worry about somebody talking to you on Twitter, or you from Nebraska and you worry about some cat in Colorado talking reckless to you, or you from New Mexico and you worry about somebody in Arkansas talking reckless to you on Twitter. That's weird. And then it started on Instagram. And you started to see it change because the kids started to live on these platforms. I have friends who I grew up with from far distance because we got so cool over Twitter that it was like, oh, you my homie now. Now I got you on Facebook. I got your family members on Facebook. And we never met a day in our lives, but we cool like that. I know enough about you to a degree where it's like, hey, you my homie, dog. Like, you invited to my wedding when I get married. And nobody thinks that's weird. You know what I'm saying? Back in the day, it wasn't like there wasn't access to that. So it was the saying goes, if I don't know you, I don't know you. Don't talk to strangers. Now it's like I trust a stranger more than I trust somebody in my family, which is weird. But that's how some of these kids in this generation was raised. You know what I mean? Like, hey, you don't have no friends in your town. Everybody don't like you. But on Twitter, you the man. On Instagram, everybody love you, and that's all that matter. You get mad love on your Instagram. Everybody watch your stories on Snapchat. You are that person. But in actuality, you're not that person. I mean, even if that's your personality, you're a great person with a great personality. But in real life, you gotta have that personality too. Just like if you talking that shit, you gotta be able to talk that shit in person, because there's gonna be people who take you as you are. It's just like a celebrity. People love celebrities until they meet them and they be like, yo, you boring. And when somebody is lit, they embrace them so much because it's like, yo, I didn't expect you to be this lit. Most people in your position ain't lit like this. They ain't popping like that. But all that brings you back to the point, the power of the tongue, you know what I mean? What we allow is what it shall be. And what we speak into existence can happen. You speak negativity into your life, that's gonna happen. Ain't nobody gonna be able to take you away from that. If you out here talking crazy to somebody and they ain't really gonna do nothing, they ain't really like that, this, that, and third, I understand it could come back to you. When Trump first started running for president, people was all, yeah, he ain't gonna win. And there was some people out here like, but what if he do? And nobody was prepared for it if he did. Everybody was just talking all this about what he wouldn't. He wouldn't underestimate other people. You never underestimate your opponent. Never. David and Goliath. Never underestimate your opponent. And I bring that all together. It's the reflection. The power of the tongue. Proverbs 18. Verse 21. Reflection part 3. And that's crazy how, you know what I mean, I only been on here for like an hour, and I'm just telling y'all about that because that's how I feel. The whole Trump thing and Trump being like Hitler is weird. It's crazy to me. People don't see the similarities, but he's really a crazy, deranged person, and we are allowing this man to run amok and pit people together, and nobody is not saying anything. This man got grown people in cages, and we're okay with that. You got what else is in this motherfucker? This motherfucker is so crazy that you just be like, wow, like you can't even understand what the fuck is going on with this dude. Sometimes I just be reading the comments of after he say something, and it's like everybody just be lost on Twitter and Facebook and every other form of social media. Like, how did this dude get in office? He is wild. He is bugging. The stuff that he says, you can't even say at work because you'll get fired. And he the president of the United States, and he's able to do things that most presidents have not done since slavery. And after slavery, it was during war times. Like, it's no wars going on right now, and this dude is up here locking people up to it's a war on immigration now. And y'all and there's people that support him and saying he's doing the right thing by us. But what you don't understand is you're creating a monster. You're creating, when you treat something so bad that it turns on you, and you have nobody to blame but yourselves. And so all these people out here thinking that he did the right thing by locking these kids up. It's a kid sitting in there in one of these camps or whatever you want to call them, locked in that tenant city, locked in that cage, missing his mom and his dad, and he's thinking about the revenge that he is going to have on this country for allowing this man to disgrace him and his family. But we don't think about stuff like that. Once again, know your history. Know where you came from so you know where you going. I always tie everything back together because this is why I want y'all to don't get lost in what I'm saying. Hear me through the message that I'm speaking to you. Somewhere in one of them camps, there's a little kid in there. He's probably maybe 7 or 8, and he's like, I'm supposed to be in the greatest country in America, and I'm locked in a cage. I haven't seen my parents in 3 or 4 days. I don't know what's going on with them. They don't know what's going on with me, and I'm angry. And when I get out of here, and I get old enough, and I matriculate the system, I'm gonna get my revenge. And we ain't gonna have nobody to blame but ourselves for allowing it to happen. Cause the person that is hurt never cares about who they hurt when they get their revenge. They're just happy and find peace in revenge. Understand, people find peace in revenge. I'm not saying it's right. I'm not saying it's wrong. But you cannot determine how somebody in their peace, or how somebody who finds their peace defines their peace. Hear that back. Replay it a few times in your mind. Don't get it twisted ever in your life to think that, hey, don't be mad at us because y'all didn't stop this man, y'all didn't do this, y'all didn't do that. Everybody always say, oh, well, we could have voted more, we could have did this. No, we could have not underestimated the opponent. And that's exactly what Trump does on a regular basis. He thinks he's outsmarting everybody, but you're not. You may be getting around a few people here and there because they don't understand what's going on and they don't understand exactly the position they're in, but just believe it's somebody always waiting in the cut, paying attention and getting right and getting to where they should be. You gotta know that your opponent is always plotting on you. Always plotting on you. No matter how many times you say, nah, that's not this ain't that. No. Your opponent always watches every move. They calculate you. So when you telling me, nah, brother, I'm good, I'll be alright, I'm fine, ain't nobody got nothing on me. Know what I mean? I don't gotta watch my back. I did what I had to do. That'd be that same person 5-6 years later that'd be like, Sitting in the wheelchair, I never saw it coming, bro. They came up behind me in the park and they got me. They jumped me. They shot me. They this, they that. Understand that. The same way Trump running over here talking reckless about immigrants and they not human, they animals, is the same way Hitler talked about the Jews. The same way presidents before them talked about African Americans and how people with all this prestige and money talked about people who are less than them. I understand the servants know all the secrets. That's why they say I respect the CEO the same way I respect the janitor. Because you never know when the tables get turned. Another theory I have real quick before I end off. The Purge, the movie, what is it called? The Purge, the first Purge, or whatever it's called. Talks about the first Purge that they had. If you look at the president in that movie, even in the trailer, he reminds me of Trump. But the thing that was crazy was that in the movie, they depict black people getting attacked the most and first in the initial purge. And you go, that's crazy. Why would that happen? Why would they, put something like this in a movie? But propaganda films, it happens. You got to understand that it's a message and everything. When I see things like that, I take that as okay, I got you. I see you. I'm not going to take it lightly and think, hey, nah, it's all good. We going to be all right. We ain't worried about nothing. We ain't worried about this. We ain't worried about that. Understand. When you look at these movies over time, it's an artistic view of things. Somebody's trying to explain to you something that they see in a different light, in a different perspective. That's what art, that's what music is. That's why people paint. That's why people do different genres of music. That's how people express themselves through whatever artistic view they do, whether it's sculpting, writing. All this comes into a perception of what we see, even if it's not reality at the moment. It could be a reality. The possibility of the reality is what should make you think twice about a situation. I could give you 1,000 theories a day that will make you think I'm crazy, or think I'm delusional about life, but that's just the perception I see things. Whereas it's like, okay, theory one is, how in the world did the government say it's a war on drugs, but yet still there was drugs all through the communities, in urban neighborhoods, in poor areas, and it wasn't a problem until the suburbs started getting it? That's a theory out there, like there was never a war on drugs. You facilitated the drugs. How can you have a war against yourself if you're the facilitator, or you're allowed to happen, to the point where you only get mad when you're not the one allowing, or having, not even allowing, when you're not the one having control over the situation. That's when you act on and then enable yourself to say, hey, let me put a label on this and say it's war on drugs because somebody cutting into what I already previously plotted to do. You know what I'm saying? It's deeper than rap, man. I'm getting frustrated just thinking about it. This episode is brought to you by Frustrated Industries. When you're so frustrated, you can't really think straight because there's so much going on right now. And it's a time where I really wish I had my brothers to converse with me on here. And I know they probably listening, because it's so many different perspectives that they would give you, that you would be like, yo, that's crazy. Like, yeah, we all generally think alike, but we also have different aspects of what we're saying. You know what I'm saying? We all have that moment where it's like, hey, yeah, you right, even though it's a little far-fetched, but also let me kick this to you and give you something. And it's like, the way the society is set up, you have the old folks that don't want to be bothered, they're stuck in their ways, raising young people to be the same way. And then you have a group of minorities that's so divided, that it's not even funny. Like, we're divided in the wrong sense of being divided. We shouldn't be divided because we come from different backgrounds. We should embrace each other because we come from different backgrounds and understand each other. Like, hey, listen, guys, it ain't right that this is happening to you, and we got your back. Same way as we want you to have our backs when something happens. All in all, know where we going. The only way to know where we're going is if we look back and see where we came from. We had to go, black people had to go through slavery, civil rights, and all that. Latinos had to go through slavery on their own islands to getting freedom, to coming over here and be treated like shit, and still get treated like shit along with us. And the only way to stop these things is to start standing up for each other as a whole and put down these barriers of, oh, the culture is in a way. No, we can embrace each other and not be always hating each other. Like, embrace each other, love each other, and respect each other, and respect each other's culture. We can learn about each other's culture and still love each other, not have to kill each other, not have to constantly feel like, oh, the only way we gonna get somewhere is if we kill each other and then the white people accept one of us. No, it's either you take all of us or, no peace. It's no peace. If we all come together and just think for a minute, white, black, poor, wealthy, and we all come together and just think on the level of we all could be in the same situation at the turn of a hat. Let's start to respect each other a little bit more. Let's understand each other a little bit more. Let's look at each other's differences and see the similarities as well, and learn from the differences. And I know I'm asking for a lot, and I wish that other people with more influence would try to bring the cultures together, but they don't. They're more worried about their pockets, their image, and they don't want this to happen and that to happen. At the end of the day, we have no control over any one person. Everybody's entitled to their own views. Everybody's entitled to agree or disagree. It's probably a lot of people disagree with me right now. It's probably people that's going to listen to this podcast and say, bro, you be all over the place. You don't know what you're talking about, because they're not really listening to me. They only listening to bits and pieces and moments. But if you listen to me in a whole, I always bring it all back together. The power of the tongue is mighty. What we allow is what it shall be. What we speak into existence shall stay into existence. And when it happens, don't be surprised. And on that note, I send y'all peace and love. And I want y'all to understand that we're going to keep doing this podcast. We're going to keep sending a message. We're going to keep showing love. And I'm always come from a way different perspective than what you think. So always be ready for something different every week. Even if it's about the same person, it's going to be a different aspect of that person. It's going to be a different aspect of society. It's going to be a different mind state of what's going on. Also, before I sign off, I was just thinking about the culture thing. Now I'm thinking about the culture thing. Joe Buttons is, because I follow Joe Buttons on YouTube, so I watch his podcast too, or I listen to it whenever it's on. He was upset as well about the whole, that's why I came up with the whole visitors in the culture concept, because he was mad at Peter Rosenberg for discussing the triple X testosterone situation on sports radio. And I agree with Joe, as hard as it is sometimes to agree with him, because he be wilding, but he be spitting some real shit. As Peter Rosenberg is one of those guys who I look at and say, just like a DJ Academics, they're not from the street, they're not from the hood, but they're immersed in the culture, and their platform, the way they use their platform to discuss our culture is very, very detrimental to a degree. Because in a situation with the young man dying, you're on a nationally syndicated radio station. Michael K's show it's on ESPN radio, and it's a very conservative show, because it's a super conservative show. He's one of the bolder people on the show. That's how you know it's conservative. And Peter Rosenberg, you're a Jewish guy from DC. Understandable. Well, not DC, Maryland. Outside of Maryland. Well, outside of DC, Maryland. You go up in the burbs, and hip hop influenced you. You loved hip hop, and you're very critical of certain parts of hip hop, and you try to embrace new hip hop, and that's appreciated. But when you're on a show, on your brand is your name, because your name follows you. You can't be on a platform like that and discuss a person dying and say, "Oh, they weren't an angel. That person wasn't an angel." And you already, most of the people that listen to the Michael K show already have a negative image of black people and Latino people and the whole hip hop community excuse me, as a whole. So you have to be very, very careful when you walk in this line. Just like DJ Academics, there's a lot of kids who, like, a lot of people don't know what Twitch is. Twitch is for gamers. So when you go on Twitch and when he's not gaming and he's doing his live Twitch moments or whatever the case may be, it's a lot of kids on there that don't know nothing about the hood, so they take your word as bond. Like, your word is the gospel, so they don't know it. They think, oh, he's a black dude that lives in the hood and he's just telling us a perspective of life that you guys don't understand. And most of the people that talk about academics, that know academics, his credentials don't check out. The dude is from some part of Long Island. He's of Jamaican descent, but he never been out here in the streets. He was a good kid, and he talks rec like, he like that. He talk like he out here ready to go kill somebody if they come at him crazy, because he gets emotional. I remember when he was beefing with DJs in Maryland, he's on Twitch talking crazy like, yeah, son, they talking about me like, when I see them, like, I'm gonna be scared of something, like, don't hate on me, but he getting emotional, like, about to cry, and you like, yo, bro, I understand you're upset, but relax, my guy. Like, you don't let nobody take you out your character when you upset like that. You need to hold your own. And these dudes are dudes that are constantly seen visually. You have one that takes over the internet with DJ Academics. He has thousands of viewers that are nowhere near the hood whatsoever. Most of them live in the suburbs like him and live in a mom's basement or play video games all day, so they only know what he tells them. They think he's the insider to the game, like, oh, he knows all this, that, and the third, and you gotta respect him because his word is his bond, and he knows stuff that we don't know. He knows these artists so very well. And because he takes on a kid like Tekashi 6ix9ine, who's a marketing, his team is marketing him to be this gangster rebel or whatever, because that's what the internet is portraying him as, and the internet kids love him. You got to understand it's a dangerous thing to be a part of, and what academics should be doing is saying, yo, I'm gonna use my platform to educate these people on hip-hop and educate myself as well, and not give out this negative view of hip-hop like he did when he exploited Chirac, and he was scared to be around certain people from Chicago because he used the whole Chirac documentary thing as a way to play people and to show people that it's dangerous out here. Like, people didn't know certain communities and certain areas and certain cities are dangerous. That's common nature if you know what you know. But, and the same goes to Peter Rosenberg. You're on a different platform, bro. You on Disney Radio basically with ESPN. The ESPN is owned by Disney, so it's like, bro, what you're doing is you're bringing a lot of conservative white people into a lane that they don't know nothing about, and y'all two have to understand that if you're going to be a contributor in hip hop and not a visitor in hip hop, you have to be a contributor in all aspects and understand that your voice carries a mighty sword and goes back to the power of the tongue. See, I love this. I love putting desire to y'all and bringing it all back full circle to the main focal point of what I'm always what the main subject is at the moment, or what the title of the podcast is. And the reason why I had to talk about them too is because it's just like, these guys we always allow people to come to the cookout. That's our culture. Black people, African Americans, Dominicans, Puerto Ricans, Jamaicans, South Americans that are of African descent. We are very inviting, happy people, but we gotta start understanding that when you invite these visitors in, if they're going to be contributors, they have to be rules to being a contributor. You have to know your place and know your time, and know that you have a has for a reason. You are allowed in this culture for a reason. You are allowed to be this contributor for a reason. You are allowed to go out and tell your people the positive and negative, but know when and where to be positive and negative. Like when you're on your own platform on Viceland or YouTube or whatever, Peter Rosenberg, you can say whatever you want. Complex, my bad, that was Complex, not Viceland. But you can say whatever you want about hip hop. That's your lane. It's people, it's white kids that come up and want to see you doing your thing. But when you're on the Michael K show, keep hip hop out of that. Especially when it's not a hip hop subject matter. It's not a hip hop show. It's a sports talk radio show. Stay in your lane. And stay in your lane in the sense of be the comedic, introspective person that you are about sports. But don't speak on a culture. Like, I always find it crazy when people bring Eminem up. Love Eminem as a rapper. He's not my top 5 rappers, even though he could spit. And I understand his whole, depression thing and things like that. I didn't really get his, some of his songs didn't hit me like that. But I understood where he was as a rapper and what he meant to the culture. And I know that he doesn't care, and it's probably a lot of people who don't care what I think, and that's cool. But it's certain times where I'll be like, well, of course he was the greatest some people say he's the greatest rapper because of sales, because you gotta remember he's a white dude rapping. People bought his album some kids bought his album just to buy it. It was people in the hood that was like, I can't relate to nothing that Eminem say, and it was people in the hood that was like, I really can relate to everything he's saying. I'm going through that right now. But also remember, it was a lot of white kids going through a rebellion that this dude would play at, like, with the Smashing Pumpkins and rock band concerts because he was accepted, just like Kid Rock. Except Eminem got a little, more, been around black people a little bit more than Kid Rock, so naturally that would make them different. But in the same token, it goes, we have all these visitors coming to hip hop, and we let them take what they want and do what they want, and they go live their lives peacefully and quietly, and nobody bothers them while Rome is burning. You know what I'm saying? And not even Rome. Well, I'm gonna say Rome because that's the, generic way to say it. That's the generic comparison. But hip hop is like Timbuktu. You know what I mean? We built this as a way to express ourselves, and we allow certain people in, and it's like certain people that we allow in, they were visitors, then contributors, and their contributions helped us immensely, and we love them for that. And then there's some contributors who we're like, yo, how did you even get invited? Who invited you, bro? So, because we got to take their card. They ain't allowed at this party no more. They can't come to the cookout and eat no more. Like, being African American, being black, being of this hip hop culture, being of the culture of America, but urban America, we are way too inviting in a negative way, because we invite everybody expecting everybody to have the same hospitality we have. Just like when they came to Africa and certain tribes is like, nah, bro, I don't know you Europeans gotta go. Whatever you are, y'all gotta go because y'all not from here. We battle for everybody and everything here. And you had some tribes that were like, nah, you guys are nice, come in and we'll eat with you and we'll show you things, and you showed them too much, and then they came over and took your land, and now you don't have nothing. Where you should have been like those other tribes and been like, yo, we don't know y'all, get up out of here. We not for none of that. When we want to talk, we'll come to you. Don't come down here. And that's what it is. You gotta know where you're going. And the only way you're gonna know where you're going is if you know where you've been. And the history shows us, as a culture, as a people, we always been too inviting. We always been, hey, come on, guys, come on over. And then next thing you know, now that person eating your steak, eating your burgers, taking your vegetables, taking your woman, taking your kids, and now you don't have nothing, and you gotta start all over. That's how you get there, not knowing where you came from. I love the culture, the urban culture of America. I love the hood to a degree. There's certain parts of the hood, of course, like anything else has its bads, but it's always been too inviting. You see a white dude in the hood, everybody be like, oh snap, he gotta be hard, because they allow him to come around here. Not necessarily. He may not follow the rules the same way. He might be a pawn. You don't know what he is, but somehow or another, that gets mixed up into things. And a lot of people listen to this podcast, and I know you're gonna think, oh, he's so anti-white and he's super pro-black, and I'm pro common sense. I'm pro anything. You can't walk into a white person's house or a country club and be involved in their conversations right away. They're going to look at you sideways. They're going to size you up. And probably after the 6th or 7th visit, they start to understand, okay, maybe I can respect this dude. Let me see what he's talking about. You talk something real sweet in the air, and then they start to open up a little bit to you, open up a little bit more. But it takes so much time that you start to be like, dang, man, I could have did something else with all this time. I'm trying to get into their inner circle. I could have been doing something else to better myself besides trying to get in their inner circle. Whereas if you come into the urban culture or hip-hop culture or whatever you want to call sub-genres of hip-hop and things like that, the gatekeepers is might as well be white people, because you're saying, oh, well, the record labels run everything, so this, that, and the third, and the radio stations run everything, and they ran by white people, this, that, and the third. And even though the internet is a free domain, we allow cornballs and whack-ass motherfuckers to tell us what hip-hop is and tell us how to work hip-hop, and we allowing all this cornish to happen when that's not really what it is. Like, I know people gonna say, oh, well, the streets is not always tough. There's niggas in the streets that snitches, niggas in the streets doing this that ain't really like that. You right, all that is a part of the hood. You right, and it's all a part of hip-hop. You had the good and the bad, but I'm saying as a whole, we have always been too inviting, and we gotta stop being so inviting. We gotta get our table together first and clean up our house before we just start telling people, yo, y'all come over to the crib, we having a cookout. Get the house in order. And that's all I'm speaking to y'all, is get your house in order before your house get taken over. And on that note, appreciate you for listening. Love y'all. Shout out to the up top with that one stop. Ain't never. Nah, I ain't gonna say ain't never, because double negatives get people mad. But can't stop, won't stop. You already know what it is. Thanks for showing love, and see y'all next week.